Hello and welcome back to the Watford Way. I'm James, I'm a Watford content creator, and welcome to the channel if you are new around here. Today we're previewing Watford versus Hull City at Vicarage Road, where Watford have really nothing to play for and Hull City have very much a lot to play for in terms of their playoff chase. There's 3 games to go for them. Can they make it to the playoff positions? Well, of course, the victory against Watford this weekend would go a long way in helping them to do just that. But before we get into my thoughts on the game, I contacted Hull City freelance writer Benedict Ferrari to get his thoughts on the upcoming fixture.
Hi James, thanks for inviting me on the Watford Way to talk about the game on Saturday. Obviously you've asked me a load of questions, so I'll just whittle through them now. The first one, you've asked me my thoughts on Watford this season. Now, I think every season with Watford in the Championship, there's sort of an expectancy that they're one of the big teams to sort of challenge for a top 6 space. Obviously last season was very disappointing for yourselves, you know, like finishing 11th I think it was, or 13th, I can't remember which way it was between you and Norwich off the top of my head. But this season, I've got to say, I did expect a lot more from Watford. I know that there's always jokes about them changing the manager, and for once it looked like with Ishmael you're going to have a manager that would be settled for a long time. Obviously he gave him a new contract, etc. in October, and then obviously things didn't quite go to plan there. You beat us earlier on in December when I think we were kind of neck and neck in the table. Obviously we've sort of gone different ways since then, but since Tom Cleverley's come in, I've got to say I've been really impressed with the way that Watford have set up. Obviously he played a lot of big teams in that run and he's done really well, so it won't be an easy game for us by any stretch. In terms of our key player at the minute, I know Watford fans don't particularly like him, but Ozan Tufan at the minute has been in red hot form. He obviously scored an absolute worldie against QPR on Saturday, and he's played really well in the games prior to that. He set up one for Carvalho against Cardiff. But another player to keep your eye out on is Abdush Omer, who was signed from Trabzonspor in January for 2 million. That 2 million is looking like an absolute steal. He's just absolutely ridiculous. The things he can do on the ball, he's technically brilliant. His work rate is phenomenal, and his ability is second to none. He's not scored yet, which is the only downside really. He's been so creative, always on the front foot, looking to make things happen. Next season, if I'm Liam Rossini, I'm definitely looking to build a team around him. And then obviously formation wise, it's kind of weird because we have set up in a 4-3-3 a lot this season, but the last couple of games we've been playing 4-2-3-1 with a false 9 that's either been Tufan or Carvalho, and they've both performed exceptionally well in that role. I'd say the main weakness is that we don't have... There's been times this season where we've lacked a real aggressive defensive midfielder, that real number 6 that can break up the play. We've got Seri and Morton that can play in like this defensive midfield roles, but they're like more ball-playing midfielders, and whilst they're technically great and have performed brilliantly throughout the season, there has been times where that lack of a number 6 has cost us, and we've become easy to play through, especially down the middle of the park, and a lot of teams have found joy in that recently and over the season. And there's been question marks about Ryan Allsop recently in terms of his shot stopping. His distribution's good, I'll give him that, playing out from the back, but it was a much needed clean sheet for him last week against QPR. So in terms of a score prediction, I'd probably go for us to edge it 2-1. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw at all, to be honest, because even though our away form is better than our home form, I know Watford are obviously drawn at home against Leeds recently, so that was a good result and obviously caused a lot of problems for Southampton last week. So it's by far going to be an easy game for us. We desperately need to win if we've got any faint hopes of keeping in touch with the top 6 with 3 games to go after this. So hopefully we can get the job done. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on, and all the best.
A big thanks to Benedict there for coming onto the channel and giving his view from a Hull City's perspective ahead of the game. It was very much appreciated, and actually I found it very, very interesting to listen to, especially when he mentioned about former Watford player Ozan Tufan. Now, he did mention as well that Ozan Tufan is disliked by many Watford fans, and I would have to agree with that sentiment there from Benedict. When he was at the club, he was deemed lazy, overweight even by by some Watford fans as well. However, since he's joined Hull City, he's gone on to actually a really, really high level in the division. He's one of the better players in the Championship, actually. And he mentioned there in the last few weeks, Hull City have changed their formation slightly with Fabio Carvalho and Ozan Tufan kind of setting up in that false nine position in recent weeks, which I find really interesting as well, because Ozan Tufan during his time at Watford was very much either a advanced midfielder or kind of a deep line playmaker when he did play. So yeah, interesting takes there from Benedict. I really appreciate him coming on to the channel. From a Watford perspective, I mentioned just prior in the intro, there's very little for Watford fans to get excited about and for the team to play for really coming towards the end of the season. We have 3 games to go. This game against Hull City, then we've got Sunderland at home next weekend, and the final day of the season is away at Middlesbrough. So actually 3 tough teams, to be fair, for Watford to play in the next couple of weeks. But ultimately, look, we are all on the beach. I'm on the beach. I'm quite relaxed, really. But again, I've mentioned this before. These last few games are a audition for Tom Cleverley, in my opinion, to get the full-time managerial job at Watford. And hopefully he can do just that. And I'm sure we'll find out towards the end of the season what Gino Pozzo's decision is on Tom Cleverley's future. In terms of injury news and injury updates going into this game, we've not heard from Tom Cleverley yet in his pre-match press conference, but we do believe that Jeremy Ngakia and Ken Sema should finally both be back from their long-term injuries, which is great news for me. For me personally, Jamal Lewis in that left-back position hasn't been doing particularly great in the past month, I would say, really. I've not been particularly impressed by his performances at all, especially going forward. I feel like he gets himself into such great positions sometimes. And then again, with Watford, it's just that final delivery. He really lets himself down. So for me, Ken Sema coming back, hopefully he'll start in that left-back position on Saturday. And yeah, I think that's a much-needed change for Watford moving forward. And as I mentioned as well, Ngakia should be back just to add some competition in that right-back area with Ryan Andrews as well. So hopefully Jeremy Ngakia will be back in the matchday squad on Saturday afternoon. As I mentioned earlier, Hull City have some great players as well. I really like the goalkeeper, Ryan Allsop, Ozan Tufan, Benedict mentioned earlier. Yes, he wasn't that great at Watford, but you have to give him credit at Hull City. He's a fantastic playmaker. He scores lots of goals actually for Hull. Fabio Carvalho on loan from Liverpool as well. So yeah, they've got some great attacking players at Hull. They're going to be a threat going forward. But Benedict mentioned there in his preview as well, Ryan Allsop in goal lately has apparently been quite susceptible in his shot stopping ability. They play it from the back quite well, he said. But in terms of shot stopping, maybe that's something Watford can target with, getting some shots on target early on in the game on Saturday afternoon. But aside from that, I don't have much else to discuss. My score prediction is going to be a positive one, of course. I want Tom Cleverley to win, get his first victory at Vicarage Road. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 Watford win, a tight game, a clean sheet for Daniel Batman in goal, and I'll go with Ismail Kone to get the goal in this game. A slightly different goal scorer to what I would usually go with, but yeah, Ismail Kone got the goal away at Southampton, and hopefully he'll continue his scoring form this weekend at the Vic. So let me know your score predictions in the comment section down below. Once again, a big thanks to Benedict Ferraby for coming on to the channel. He's a writer for Hull City and for Football League World, so make sure you check out his content, and I'll leave a link to his Twitter page down below as well. Please subscribe to The Watford Way, and yeah, as I said, let me know your score predictions in the comments as well. Aside from that, I'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.